We'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back. We have with us today a special guest, Michael Williams, from those of you who may know in the China Hill community. Michael has written a book. Tell us, Michael.
Well, I wrote most of it about 13 years ago as a fulfillment of a master's thesis at Valdosta State University. At the time, it's kind of a literary analysis of a little-known Georgia author named Brainerd Cheney.
Oh, I know him.
I've met two people here today who know him, and it's kind of rare. My thesis chair at Valdosta did, luckily for me, and I grew up reading his novels. My grandparents had them on the bookshelves in their home. Brainerd Cheney was from Telfair County, Georgia, and grew up in Lumber City, and he was sort of involved with what were known as the agrarians in Nashville, Tennessee. He spent most of his life in Nashville. He attended Vanderbilt University. His wife was the librarian there, and he was always affiliated with those writers, and he worked in Tennessee politics for most of his life, but he wrote about South Georgia.
He did, and did it well. So what got you started after your thesis to finish this up?
A fellow in Eastman, Georgia acquired the publishing rights to Brainerd Cheney's novels and re-released them in the last few years. His name is Stephen Wiggum. And I got to talking to him and told him I had written a master's thesis on it, and he immediately was interested. And so I added, like I said, it's a literary analysis, but it has a lot of history in it. And you know, when I wrote it initially, I tried to point out who historical figures were, because his novels are historical fiction.
Right.
And he changes the names and changes a few things. But so I tried to go through and pinpoint all of that. And so I added another chapter about my family's connection to those events, because his first novel, Lightwood, has a few of my ancestors involved, and so I wrote a chapter about that, lengthened the other chapters, and turned it into a book.
Well, it's fantastic. We're so proud of that. Tell us a little bit about your title, because that intrigued me when I saw the book.
Rivers, Rogues, and Timbermen in the novels of Brainerd Cheney. Cheney was an environmentalist at heart, and very much preoccupied with the Okmulgee, Oconee, and Altamaha rivers, and he sort of mourns the kind of what he would call, I think, like unfettered capitalism that came in after the Civil War during the Reconstruction period, and they cut down all the longleaf pine timber between the rivers, and so he documents that exploitation, and then sort of celebrates the people who were on the land, and then the timber raftsmen in the second novel, River Rogues. Most of these farmers, certain times of the year, if they had land along the river, they cut down some cypress timber, build a raft, and float it down to Darien. And they were sort of exploited too, because when you got to Darien, you had to sail. You couldn't float that raft back upstream. And so that's kind of where I was coming through on that. Like I said, the second novel is called River Rogue anyway.
Yeah.
So it was a play on terms, but I thought it was pretty catchy.
I like it. I like it a lot. It reminds the three things together remind me of the Dodge the wars,
exactly.
The land wars.
Exactly, and a lot of it touches on the Dodge land wars. My ancestor, Lucius Williams, was murdered by federal agents in league with the Dodge Company in 1894, and then some members of my family avenged his murder, actually on Christmas Eve night at Blockhouse Church in Telfair County, 1902. Cohen Garrison, one of the guys, he'd left town for about 8 years, and he came back and he thought he was safe at a tree lighting ceremony on Christmas Eve night, but he was not. So the Williams had shot him dead right there in the church courtyard in front of all the parishioners.
For everybody. We have a lot of relatives in common, because Blockhouse Church is where if they're not buried at the McKinnon Cemetery in China Hill, they're at Blockhouse Church.
Sure.
I mean, it's just there. I had heard one time years ago, the stories that they told were exaggerated, but I think, as you have found out, and I have found out, that's not necessarily so.
No, they were not.
They were different men.
They were, and all the codes of honor had gone out the window, and I don't condone it. It's been over 100 years, so I can chuckle about it now, but you hear so much about the Wild West and the Western frontier. The frontier along the Ocmulgee River was much more violent.
Yes.
And my understanding is close to 30 people died in the conflict known as the Dodge Land Wars, and it's a neglected portion of history. It should be taught in schools. That's a significant number. You think about Deadwood, South Dakota. Wild Bill Hickok got shot in the back, and that's been forever famous. And 30 people were murdered in their homes along this river.
My granddaughter loves history, so a lot of times we'll ride around and we'll talk about things like this. And she said, "Why didn't anybody arrest them?" I said, "They were kin to the sheriff." Exactly. Somebody was. I had relatives on both sides of the Dodge Land War, so it was tough for a while.
But Cheney's father, Brainerd Cheney's father, had worked for the company, and in the course of doing that, he changed sides. And I think Cheney went into it thinking that he was going to portray the settlers as rapscallions, and the company as being the right person in the conflict. But legally, I don't think the company had much ground, but they did have all the courts in their pocket. And initially, everything was lopsided against the company because everything would go into the Telfair County Courthouse, and all the company's land cases would get tossed out, and they were eventually able to bundle them all up and put them in the federal court, and then it was lopsided against the settlers. And as you point out, I know when the Williamses that killed the man at Blockhouse Church were never indicted. It was killed by persons unknown, but everybody in the county knew who did it.
I had a cousin one time that told me if you wanted anybody killed, just go to Ryan. They'd arrange it for you. I thought, my family's from Ryan. Don't say that.
It was a violent area.
It was violent all along that river. I mean, it was just a survival mechanism. I am so excited about this book. I have got some for Christmas presents, and I encouraged everybody to come to the museum. I'm going to have some copies here, and get one of these books, especially if you love history. This is something you need to see. I want to mention that Michael is also an instructor.
That's right.
At
Wiregrass, Georgia Technical College.
I never can get all that right. But there you go. And I'm so proud to have you today, Michael.
Well,
come back anytime.
It's been a pleasure. I will.
Thank you.
WDTV 13. Programming is sponsored by
Harper & Company Builders, serving Douglas and Coffee County for Dewey Hayes Jr., attorney at law, selected to the top 100 trial lawyers in the state of Georgia.
Earn your degree for less at South Georgia State College. At SGSC, we offer associate degree programs as well as Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Both bachelor degrees are offered at the associate level tuition rate, and many financial aid options are available. Plus, classes are taught by credentialed professors who care about your success. Visit sgsc.edu to find out more and to set up your personal tour. South Georgia State College. You matter here.
You're not who you used to be. And neither are we. With a caring staff, experienced doctors, and the most advanced technology, Coffee Regional Medical Center in Douglas, Georgia is better than ever before.
I'm so glad that you joined us today. I hope you enjoyed both of our presenters. Also, I'm going to catch you up on some Museum and Historical Society news. On Saturday, December the 19th, from 11 to 1, right here at the museum, we're doing an author event for Eartha Street. She's written some wonderful books. One is supposed to be a children's book, but I'm telling you, us grandmas like it too. And she's also got a book of inspirational prayers and poetry, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So drop by that day, have a little snack with us, talk to Eartha, look at her books. I'm sure she'll have some to sell for if you'd like one. We will be closed Christmas weekend and New Year's weekend simply because our volunteers want to spend the time with their family. Right now at the museum, we have a mini exhibit on the First Methodist Church in Douglas. Please come by and see that. We're also, our major exhibit is the Nichols community, and we have a lot of artifacts and information about the people and the families and the events in Nichols, even about the murder on Main Street. Also, coming up, we have some doozies, as my grandmother would say. We have a lady that's doing a mini exhibit on the history of Black Americans in Coffee County. She's doing a focus, and it's going to be a surprise, so I'm not going to tell you. And the other one, starting January the 21st, we're doing Women Leaders in Coffee County. Now, these are women that over a 20-year time span have made a change, a difference, or even pushed other people to make that difference. I know women have always been the movers and shakers behind the men, but we're going to focus on the women in Coffee County that each community submits to us as being someone that made a positive influence and made things happen. So join us on the 21st, but on the 23rd of January, that Saturday, we're having the grand opening with refreshments and party, so come then anyway. I'll remind you of this in January, but go ahead and write it on your calendar. We're still looking for heritage churches in Coffee County. We're trying to document all the churches, the congregations, and our buildings that were formed before 1925. We have a beautiful old Mormon church that's no longer in use, but it is in a beautiful setting, and it's a shame just to see it be forgotten. And that's what got us started with this. So if your church, or if you know of a church, city or county, in Ambrose, Broxton, no matter where it is, we want to know about it. When it was started, where, the families, so as much information as possible. We're super interested if it's the original building. I know of several churches that have kept the old sanctuary but built a new one next to it. And that is something that must makes it more special. If you've not paid your membership dues for the society, please mail us a check. The address is 219 West Ward. Also, the Historical Society meets the second Monday of each month at 9 a.m. And we would love for you, if you have Facebook, to go on the Facebook page. It's Coffee County GA Historical Society. We have all kinds of information, as well as our program, our Heritage, has a link there also. The book that Michael Williams talked about today, Rivers, Rogues, and Timbermen, will be on sale in the gift shop at the museum, and it's $15. If you're a history fan, you need to come by and get you one of these. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed Christmas and a safe holiday, and we will see you back at our Heritage in January.